DA Fani Willis to remain on the case.
No more motions, no more testimony until they decide whether Fani Willis can continue in her role. Keep in mind, this case has already been delayed for months. There was some testimony dramatic on national television when it was learned that the prosecutor and the DA were involved in a romantic relationship. The big question, whether that relationship began before or after that chief prosecutor, Nathan Wade, was hired. He was a lawyer with little experience, no felony experience. He mainly handled traffic violations. Suddenly, he was the head of a chief racketeering case.
Fox's Steve Harrigan. House Republicans accusing President Biden's brother, James, and son, Hunter, of lying to Congress while under oath as part of the impeachment investigation into President Biden.
Republicans accuse Hunter of not telling the truth about his role at a Biden family holding company. They say the firm received millions of dollars from foreigners who met with then Vice President Biden. The House says James Biden claims he was not at a meeting with his brother, but documents indicate otherwise. Prosecution is now up to Attorney General Merrick Garland.
Fox's Chad Pergram at the Capitol. The president denies any involvement in family business dealings overseas. Senate Republicans have blocked legislation designed to protect women's access to contraception, claiming the bill was just a political stunt, and they say the bill would infringe on some parental rights and religious liberties. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is saying Democrats will keep fighting until vital protections outlined in this bill become law. America is listening to Fox News.
We used to argue about whose turn it was to clean the gutters, but then I had Leaf Filter gutter protection installed.
Wait, I told you Leaf Filter had free inspections and estimates and a lifetime guarantee.
Meaning we never have to argue about whose turn it is to clean the gutters again.
But I visited leaffilter.com/beacon first.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Outdated. I'm Harrison Silcox. Here's what's trending this hour. Pipelines that help power your home and neighborhood are getting old and need to be replaced. Donnie Burgess reports on a new Center Point Energy project.
Utility workers are going to be busy digging up 120 miles of bare steel and cast iron natural gas pipes throughout Indiana, from Albany to Carmel to Muncie and Bloomington and Seymour and just about every town and city in between. CenterPoint plans to replace all pipes with new industry-grade material that doesn't wear and tear as bad as the old stuff. But this will mean you'll have to put up with traffic issues depending on where the work crews are. You can keep up to date on CenterPoint's website. Donnie Burgess, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
Police are after a man accused of selling fentanyl to a teenager who died at Westfield. Lieutenant Billy Adams says they're trying to find Thad Da.
We're tracking some information that leads us to believe that he is the individual that sold the fentanyl to the victim. We have evidence to believe there's enough to charge him with that.
He was last seen in Indianapolis May 29th. Lieutenant Adams says if you see him, give police a call. Indiana ranks in the bottom half of states with the highest income, says Wallet Hub.
Virginia ranked number 1, followed by New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, and Washington.
Cassandra Happy with Wallet Hub. They used info from the highest and lowest paid people in each state in their study. On the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com. Now here's your forecast from the American Standard Cooling Weather Center.
Our Wednesday evening could see a few stray showers or thunderstorms possible early. However, late night we'll see them pass out, and as we move into our forecast for tomorrow morning, we'll be dry near 63. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Drew Arsutis for 93 WIBC.
Whatever happened to Tony Horton, the guy who created the revolutionary P90X?
2017, I was knocked down. A very rare type of shingles that went straight into my brain. My body was completely wasting away. I started researching everything related to building my muscle back again. That's when I learned about the potential of HMB plus vitamin D3 and what they can do when it comes to helping build new muscle.
So Tony developed high-impact protein by Power Life.
Just add 1 scoop of high-impact protein to a glass of water or your morning smoothie and enjoy the effects of that boss molecule and factory worker combination. reshaping your body each and every day. More energy, burn more fat, and probably drop a few pounds along the way.
High-impact protein by Power Life is a tasty once-a-day powder that comes in either whey or plant protein. Go to mypowerlife.com and use code TONE to save 30%. Tony even offers a 90-day guarantee. Go to mypowerlife.com or text TONE to 511-511. Text TONE to 511-511 today. All individuals are unique. Your results can and will vary. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Tax fees may apply.
Terry Stacy here. Honey Baked Ham isn't just for the holidays. Stop in for lunch and choose from handcrafted sandwiches, salads, soups, and more. Or take home a heat and serve family meal that comes with a home-style main dish, sides, and rolls. Perfect for a busy weekend night and better than fast food. Have a special event this spring? Let Honey Baked cater with sandwich trays or a VIP buffet with all the extras. Honey Baked on West 96th Street in Indy or Greyhound Pass in Carmel makes it easy to serve something special any day of the year.
Hammer and Nigel here, inviting you to join us as we kick off the weekend every Friday around 5:45 with Beer Sample Friday, brought to you by our friends at Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus.
If you can plan barbecues and weddings, you can plan to protect yourself from a natural disaster. Sign up for local alerts, prepare an emergency kit, and make a family communications plan. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Indy Humane. Find your new best friend today. Visit indyhumane.org.
Tony Katz.
It's Kendall and Casey.
The Hammer and Nigel Show. All right, when does your show start? Do we know? I feel like I've been promoting this for 9 years now.
This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Good evening. Hello. Welcome to Wednesday, this beautiful June the 5th, a thunderstormy one for most of us anyway. I'm Tony Kinnett. This is the Tony Kinnett Cast, and we have a lot of quick news to round up. So first and foremost, Trump's Atlanta trial. That's the federal racketeering case with Fani Willis, the guy who, Fani Willis, the lady who, in addition to wearing her dress backwards to important court cases, also decided to appoint her traffic cop lawyer boyfriend as the chief prosecutor into investigating and charging Donald Trump. And it's not going very well because the appeals court in Georgia has now paused all proceedings in Donald Trump's Fulton County criminal case until it rules on the effort to disqualify Fani Willis, because you're really not allowed to be the district attorney who is having, let's just say, an illicit relationship with the guy that you are having go after people. Not really a good thing. If you are keeping track at home, this now means that every other trial that Donald Trump is facing, whether we're talking about D.C., whether we're talking about the classified documents case in Florida, or here Fulton County in Atlanta, Georgia, all of the other trials in which Donald Trump has been charged with any kind of a felony have basically been postponed until after the presidential elections in November. Here's why that is extremely critical for any and all people in the United States. There was only really one, maybe two of these cases that held any weight or water with the American public. One of these would be the classified documents case, which, as I've said repeatedly, is the only case that really holds any kind of a threat to Trump or the Trump campaign. Not because it's unique to him, but because it is a law that many presidents have indeed violated, and vice presidents as well. And that if Trump is brought up on charges for it, that poses a realistic danger to him, especially in the eyes of the public. Very objective crime. The rest of the crimes, not so much. None of which were as weak as Trump's New York trial. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit. But if we look at the Judge Cannon trial over in Florida, Politico wrote on May the 7th that Judge Cannon had indefinitely postponed Trump's classified documents trial in Florida indefinitely. And then just about an hour ago, this is according to CNN, Judge Eileen Cannon has ripped up the court schedule in the Mar-a-Lago case, and then CNN puts in ways that benefit Trump. I told you guys, I was very clear. A lot of people in the country were very clear. If you really want to destroy Trump, the document case is the best way to do it, and that's the only one. Make that the only case if you're really going to go after him, instead of weird hush money, nonsensical, not exactly a misdemeanor, a felony, a federal case, and a state case. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. And to be clear, the shoddy trial in New York City that Americans didn't care about is now all they have. That's it. And they can run around and scream convicted felon as much as they want, but I've got a secret. It's just not enough. And one of the reasons it's not enough is because now President Biden is completely unable to do any kind of public speaking at all or closed-door interviews. Time magazine released their latest interview with President Biden, and the way they were glowing about it, I'm definitely not the first pundit to point this out today, one of the consequences of being the 7 p.m. show. But President Biden's interview, Time portrayed it as being like really wonderful and amazing, and it was just like Biden was answering flashcards of like really great history trivia right away, and it was just stellar and astounding, and he's at the top of his game, the prime of his time, the buff of his stuff. And then you actually start reading some of the transcript, which Time released. They won't release the tape or the audio, much like how Merrick Garland intervened to save President Biden's interview with Robert Hur, that transcript audio, from getting to the public, because President Biden is dead. He's just dead. And there is no amount of drugs that can save that man at this point. He should have been allowed to, or forced to, quietly retire with his family and fade into the distance and retire and enjoy the time with those around him. Perhaps all of his grandkids instead of, only the ones that he chooses to be around. But that's what he should have done. Instead, he decided to take on the toughest job in the world, and it clearly has accelerated his dementia. So let's go over a few things really quickly that Biden did in this Time magazine interview, which, again, the transcript is open to read for everyone. So he threatened to beat up the journalist who questioned his age. So on good for Time magazine, I guess, give him one little perk here. They did say, hey, a lot of Americans are concerned that you're 81 and, you're not doing well. A vast majority of Americans express concern. He lacks the, quote, mental sharpness, end quote, to serve as president. And then Biden responded, quote, I could do it better than anybody you know, which is a very weird way to say that. Very, very strange, creepy way to say that. And then Biden said, you're looking at me, I can take you too. Yeah, put him up, I'll take you right now. What? So, again, I will remind you that if President Trump had so much as batted an eyelash at a journalist, the press would never have shut up. The press were called the enemy of the people when Donald Trump did not like them, and the media lost their ever-loving minds. That wasn't even a threat. He's just like, you guys suck. And yet here's Biden saying, I'll beat you up for asking about how old I am. And we're just going to slide right on by that one. So one notable point is that Time actually covered up for Biden, in which case he mixed up Putin and Xi Jinping from China. And there are so many parentheses, unintelligible parentheses in this transcript. The word appears over 30 times. The word unintelligible in parentheses, meaning that no one knew what Biden was even saying, appears over 30 times in this transcript. Just fantastic stuff. So he's mixing up country. He's accusing Putin of invading Russia twice, which is stellar. And then, of course, he starts talking about Africa and forgetting what year it is and not really sure when inflation started and didn't start. You get what you elect. Realistically. I mean, at this point, you have to look at the American public and consider why they are not a big fan of Biden, despite what all of the media is trying to push regarding Trump's conviction. So not good for Biden on that. So what has Joe Biden done to maybe turn the tide on this disastrous PR nightmare that never seems to end in 2024? Well, he's finally coming out and issuing some kind of loosey-goosey asylum executive order. Here's what that sounded like.
Today, I'm announcing actions to bar migrants who cross our southern border unlawfully from receiving asylum. Migrants will be restricted from receiving asylum at our southern border unless they seek it after entering through an established lawful process. This action will help us gain control of our border, restore order into the process. This ban will remain in place until the number of people trying to enter illegally is reduced to a level that our system can effectively manage.
So one of the fantastic parts about that interview, about that press conference, is that President Biden made that announcement. That was the first thing he said. He walked out and started saying those words. That sounds like he's 45 minutes into an interview and starting to slough off the meds. So if President Biden now can't even get enough meds in his system to get him through a 2.5-minute press announcement? Hoo boy. And besides that, again, we talked about this yesterday, that Biden has been running around telling everyone since time immemorial that he can't do anything about the border. Here's Donald Trump as a contrast to the mental inacuity of the president of the United States, hitting Biden on this hard.
Millions of people have poured into our country, and now, after nearly 4 years of his failed, weak leadership, pathetic leadership, crooked Joe Biden is pretending to finally do something about the border. But in fact, it's all about show, because he knows we have a debate coming up in 3 weeks. The truth is that Joe Biden's executive order won't stop the invasion. It's weak and it's pathetic.
Yeah. I mean, every single bit of that is true. And by the way, both of them are reading off of teleprompters there. One of them is actually doing so correctly. Trump on the teleprompter is good Trump. Carefully laid out, detailed specifically what you're going to do, and actually taking things in a very serious, measured campaign, which, by the way, for all intents and purposes, appears to be now how Donald Trump is running his campaign. And that presents a huge problem for Biden, especially with the upcoming debates. But that's not the only thing that's critical, because far more important than these debates in the next couple of weeks are the trials of Hunter Biden and Senator Bob Menendez in New Jersey, compared to Trump's trial in New York. We're going to talk about why it is so crucial. Stick around. This is the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC.
If you can't get a good night's sleep, let me ask you, are you breathing well? Because if you're snoring or waking up each night with a stuffed up nose, or frustrated with your CPAP mask, the root of your sleep problem lies in your breathing triangle. And if any one of those passages isn't working, you won't sleep well. And there's no mattress, pill, or other gimmick that can fix that. I'm Dr. Madan Kandula. A recipe for a good night's sleep starts with an open airway. Now, there are devices that can help solve snoring or sleep apnea problems. If you walk into a sleep center, know you'll walk out with a CPAP. And you might find other options elsewhere. But the simple truth is, if your nose doesn't work properly, no device will help. Only at Advent will you find every effective snoring and sleep apnea solution, along with a world-class team that can get your nose working properly again.
Go to adventknows.com to schedule your appointment, because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better.
Guys, maybe you're working outside, maybe you're trying to get more from your workouts, or thinking about a golf tee time. If you're lacking energy, motivation, or gaining weight, there could be another T to think about. That's a low T. Testosterone therapy can help you get back to feeling your best. We recommend Low T Center.
With over a decade of experience, they make it easy. Take a simple blood test and get results back in about 25 minutes. Go to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment online. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
Paid for by Wesley Financial Group. Are you a victim of the timeshare trap and think there's no way out? I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, the original timeshare cancellation expert. And I'm here to tell you that there is a way out. All you need to do is give my office a call. I will send you a timeshare exit information kit absolutely free, explaining how the timeshare industry works and your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free info kit. 800-761-0000. 800-761-0000.
We all have people in our lives we interact with. Maybe it's your favorite barista, a neighbor who waves to you every morning, a coworker you grab lunch with, or maybe it's me, the hairstylist you've gone to for years. What if you learned I had a substance use disorder? Would it change how you see me? It's okay to see the addiction, but when you choose to see the person, not just their disease, it can help change someone's life. Learn more at cbeyondtheaddiction.org.
Reach your fitness goals in 2024 with the 20-minute once-a-week program at Exercise Inc. 5 locations now in Fishers. Visit exerciseinc.com.
We see it every day online, tragedy of some sort, and our kids see it too. This message is brought to you by the Indiana Youth Institute. Now more than ever, our youth need our support, even if they don't experience an event firsthand. Talking about what is going on can help them understand and feel safe. When talking to our youth about tragedy, use gentle words, offer comfort, and encourage them to share their worries. And remember, our youth could be experiencing fear, shock, anger, anxiety, and grief. These reactions are all normal, and their age will likely affect how they handle the stress. Be patient with support as your child grieves. However, if the child continues to display strong reaction for more than 2 to 4 weeks, they might need more help coping. This Kids Count Minute is a message from the Indiana Youth Institute. For more parent tips, go to iyy.org/kids.
Kids count on you. Teachers shape the future. Right now, in a classroom somewhere in the United States, there's a teacher inspiring a future scientist who'll make preventing pandemics their life's work. Sharpening the mind of an aspiring environmentalist who'll help combat climate change. And generating possibilities for a student who'll be the first in their family to graduate college. Explore a career that leaves a legacy you can be proud of. Teach. Learn more and receive free support at teach.org.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Through their service, veterans have our backs. Now we should have theirs. Learn more at gotyoursix.org.
It's the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIPC.
The two trials of Trump and Biden, and in this specifically meaning former President Donald Trump in New York City, convicted of 34 felonies. Well, sort of. Convicted of the attempt to commit 34 felonies by actually committing 34 misdemeanors, which had expired the statute of limitations, that the jurors were told they didn't even have to be unanimous on which of the business records Trump supposedly falsified in order to commit a federal felony, which the Federal Election Commission had refused to prosecute Trump on, because after their investigation, they found Trump actually didn't violate federal election law. But anywho, there's that election. And then on the other side, you have Hunter Biden, the cherished son and crack addict of the President of the United States, who was, biking around with his dad and going around the world and taking cash payments for his dad and selling modern art pieces for lots of money to shady actors and on various recordings and things, basically leveraging his family influence with foreign actors like those in China and Ukraine. Hey, remember when Trump got in trouble for wanting to investigate Ukraine's corruption? Anyway, so they're really an interesting set of trials when you look at both of them, because Donald Trump was tried by a judge who was openly hostile, who would not let the defense speak to the jury at the end of the trial, and who would not allow the former chair of the Federal Election Commission, who was appointed by President Bill Clinton, to actually come in and testify about federal election law, which is funny because, that was the entire basis for the trial. But anywho, then you also put him in a very blue area of the country. New York City, kind of known for being a liberal hotspot, full of individuals who might probably detest Donald Trump, but aside from that, kind of an unfriendly environment. On the other side, Hunter Biden. Let's take a look at his trial, because what we are seeing is something very, very special. So Hunter Biden has been addicted to crack cocaine for a very, very long time, and purchased a gun at a, let's make sure we get this right, purchased a gun in Wilmington, Delaware, near the home of President Biden. And when he went to fill out his gun registration form, if you've ever bought a gun before, you'll maybe fill out a gun registration form, and it asks you very specific questions like, hey, are you addicted to drugs? Are you using drugs? And that's because you're not allowed to be a drug addict and just, walk in and waltz in and buy a gun. That's part of the background check process. Hunter knowingly lied, put no, and then took the gun, and was so irresponsible with it, by the way, that his girlfriend, and who was he dating at the time? Oh yeah, his dead brother's widow. Ew. His dead brother's widow found the gun, which he was leaving in the car while her daughter was driving around with it. And, oh, that's right. Also, according to court documents released on the 4th, Hunter Biden also got Bo's widow addicted to crack as well. So just stellar, amazing stuff. And all of this to say that because of the Biden family's popularity in Delaware, in that community, and by the way, when I mean popular in Delaware, I mean that several pundits and analysts have pointed this out very clearly already, that Joe Biden is responsible for the large amount of business in the state of Delaware, mainly credit card and financial institutions. And so Delaware looks very favorably on Joe Biden, and always has. It's a very specific kind of blue for a reason. And so there is considered a very friendly court situation here, and there is a possibility that Hunter Biden's case could result in a hung jury. It could result in an acquittal. There could be a lot of interesting things that occur in this case, and none of that has to do with Hunter Biden. The reason that this case and Trump's case are so crucial to this election is because these two cases, plus also maybe Bob Menendez corruption case, senator from New Jersey that we reported on at the Daily Signal just a few months ago. We'll get to that in a second, don't worry. Those two primary cases, though, between Trump and between Joe Biden's son, Hunter, are crucial to Biden's very last chance to win election in November. A lot of people are putting their stock into debates. The debates are going to be very marginal. Are they going to matter? Absolutely, but they are going to be marginal compared to the impact of what happens at the end of this case. Because Biden's Department of Justice already tried to cut what's been called a sweetheart deal with Hunter Biden, in which case Hunter Biden's lawyers tried to cut a plea deal that the Department of Justice was okay with and signed off on, in which Hunter Biden would basically enter a plea agreement on the gun crime, but he would not be charged for any of the numerous tax violations. So basically, he was going to enter this plea agreement, this plea deal that none of us would ever get, just to be clear, where he would admit, yeah, I bought a gun illegally and that was bad, and I will enter this plea agreement if you don't charge me with anything else ever. And the judge looked at that and basically went, because they could not believe that something that stupid had been submitted to their courtroom. So where does this put the court situation now? What does this have to do with Joe Biden, you might ask? Well, of course, Joe Biden has gone around the country over the last couple of years saying that his son was innocent. And now Joe Biden is in the position where he's saying, well, I don't really want to comment on my son's case. And, well, actually, I'm just a dad. Actually, this is from PBS. He said he won't comment on the criminal trial, but as a dad, he has, quote, boundless love for my son, confidence in him, and respect for his strength. I'm the president, but I'm also a dad, he said in a statement. By the way, nothing wrong with that statement at all, in my opinion. And then he says, Jill and I love our son, and we are so proud of the man he is today. All right, the last part, I don't think so. But what does this have to do with Biden's election chances? Here's where it all boils down to. If Hunter Biden is convicted, whereas Donald Trump was convicted, Joe Biden is going to be able to look at the American people and say, the rule of law in my administration is firm, whether I like or whether I don't like the results of the conviction or the acquittal. That's the American justice system. That will play well, because that's an echo of centrist Joe that he ran on in 2020. But Joe Biden hasn't been acting like that. And if, in a very real situation, if Hunter somehow escapes from this, it is going to look like the ultimate two-tier justice system in which your political rival gets hit with 34 felony counts in enemy territory, and your son gets off scot-free. It is quite honestly the embodiment of the classic phrase, for my friends, everything, and for my enemies, the law. And this also goes with Bob Menendez as well, the senator from New Jersey who, based on my researching and reporting, took solid gold bars from Egypt as a direct, open, very present bribe, including several sports cars and a whole lot of other wild stuff. And of course, the Democrats in the Senate haven't, kicked him out. Senator Menendez is still hanging around, doing Egypt's bidding in the Senate. Egypt, president of Egypt, that's right on our southern border, according to President Joe Biden. So what do we do with all of this? Well, you've really got two routes to go to. Either Menendez and Hunter Biden are convicted in what's a very open shut case, and President Biden, for political reasons, like Joseph Stalin, basically gets to come out and say, I sacrifice my son and also this weird guy from New Jersey, and the rule of law prevails. And independents and a lot of moderate Republicans will respect that. And if a couple of them get out of it, and Trump's political trial doesn't go to appeal until around election time or afterward, well, I mean, the American public is certainly going to see something that no amount of media headlines that go, but wait, these are totally different, guys. It's not going to make a difference. This this court case for Hunter Biden is genuinely Biden's very, very last chance to win the 2024 election. Up next, we're going to be talking with Rob Kendall, because he and I have some bones to pick with local government. Because you know what? Sometimes it sucks. This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Greetings from R&R Agency, your Indiana health insurance pros. And a thank you to our loyal customers for making our agency a national sales leader for the 7th straight year. We recently saved a family of 4 over $500 monthly when compared to their ACA plan. You know it's still Obamacare, right? We recently saved a 61-year-old retiring couple over $600 when compared to their COBRA plan. Breaking news. We are now able to offer health insurance to employer groups of all sizes with 2 of the largest insurers in the Midwest. We'll be here when you need us. Quoting my favorite president, what the heck do you have to lose? We can help. As always, God bless America, or at least what's left of her.
Call Ron or Terry at 317-563-0868. That's 317-563-0868. Or go to rragency.org. That's rragency.org. A health plan managed and chosen by you, not the government.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Last year, over 3 million people called Morgan & Morgan in their time of need. And with over 1 million of those calls coming from previous clients, friends, and family.
My name is Jeannie. I was sitting in traffic and I was hit twice from behind by 2 different cars. My first thought was Morgan & Morgan. I was very surprised at how easy it was. I did not have to go into the office. I did everything by text. They needed documents. I could sign them. I could upload them. I could send them right back with ease. Call Morgan & Morgan. It's easier than you think.
Thank you for trusting us. We've become the largest injury firm in the world because we've won a lot. The word is out. Size matters. Reputation matters. We're America's largest injury law firm for a reason. With over 900 dedicated attorneys and climbing, we're ready wherever you are, whatever you need. The choice is easy. We're just a phone call away. Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
You love the summer in Indy, so don't ruin it painting. Do what Judy did. She called Rhino Shield.
The house that Rhino Shield did for my husband and I, after having the house painted with kind of usual house paint, I was seeing cracks appearing about every 3 years and just wasn't very satisfied with that.
Rhino Shield's a ceramic coating specifically formulated for our unique climate.
I can't speak highly enough about the Rhino Shield crew. They also were great at working with me to get the exact right color because I was very particular.
Indy, you can get the 25-year guaranteed protection of Rhino Shield right now for 10% off the regular price.
I would not hesitate to call Rhino Shield, and I am just thrilled to recommend Rhino Shield to my friends and neighbors and family.
Here's Rhino Shield's Shane Smith.
This offer is limited, so call me at 888-RHINO-41. That's 888-RHINO-41.
Don't paint.
Don't vinyl.
Go Rhino!
Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield!
We used to argue about whose turn it was to clean the gutters, but then I had Leaf Filter gutter protection installed.
Wait, I told you Leaf Filter had free inspections and estimates and a lifetime guarantee.
Meaning we never have to argue about whose turn it is to clean the gutters again.
But I visited leaffilter.com/beacon first.
No, I did.
It doesn't matter who. Visit leaffilter.com/beacon to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off today.
See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. 1 discount per household.
Inside Indiana Business Radio, the news you need to get ahead. Indiana's business news leader, weekdays at 6:32 a.m. and 5:56 p.m. on WIBC.
You let him try violin because you love him. And if you love him that much, love him enough to make sure he's buckled up and in the back seat. Find out more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Find the path to recovery that works for you. Learn more at cdc.gov/stopoverdose.
Up to 50% off on all of our windows and doors, plus 12 months, no payments, no interest. It's our great granddaddy of a sale.
Trust me.
The Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Hey, welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast. I'm Tony Kinnett, and joining me on the phone is Rob Kendall, earlier on the show today with Kendall and Casey. And I got to tell you a little bit of a story. So first of all, we'll get the niceties out of the way. Are you enjoying our thunderstormy Wednesday?
You know, I've been looking for a rainbow, but I haven't found one yet, Tony.
Man, Pride Month is really letting us down. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story because I know you despise local government as much as I do. And this, believe it or not, is a case that I don't even think is, like, the people in the Hancock County local government, I don't think it's their fault specifically because, like, the policies are currently written. But here's the story. So we're building a little studio behind the house where we're looking forward to it. We've been kind of planning this for a long time. We have everything ready to go with the concrete and with, we don't have a builder planned just yet for kind of the pole barn structure. By the way, out there, if you're interested in maybe putting the studio together with us, shoot us an email. Anyway, so we're getting things ready to go. And so I go to fill out the building permit. Now, we're not in the city of Greenfield. We are technically in Hancock County. So we go through all of the steps the website says. I fill out all of the dimensions. I state where on the property it's going to be. I state out of the materials, the height, the depth, all this other stuff. And then, just to make sure, I call the building and planning office just to say, hey, what else do I need? Do I have everything? Can I answer all these questions? And I even ask, do you need to know the names of the contractors and people? And she says, no, I don't need to know any of that. Just bring it in person. We'll go through it together. I think, wow, this is going pretty well. So I take the building permit in, and a different lady looks over it because, you know, of course, that's my luck. And then tells me that they need to know all of this stuff that I was told I didn't need to know. And I need to obtain a stamp of approval from the surveyor. And then I need to go get an engineer to rubber stamp truss designs for the roof. And then I needed to go and it was like a simple building permit process, which shouldn't exist in the first place, became this massive ornate ordeal that now has me going around to different offices like I'm Hermes delivering Greek letters. What's up with this?
Tony, you have two options here. It's dealer's choice. I can either make you feel better about your situation or I can make you feel worse about your situation. Which one would you like to begin with?
Which would be more interesting for the viewer? Go ahead. What makes me feel worse? Let's give them what they ask for.
Well, what should make you feel worse about all of this is that if you had lived in the town or the city, it probably would have been worse. The county actually has, on about 99% of the time, far less restrictive zoning rules and regulations and oversight because there's more people who live in a county and it's a wider area than, say, a city or town. This was the thing I always struggled with as an elected official because on one hand, there does have to be some level of rule and regulation because you don't want somebody building a nuclear power plant next to a residential neighborhood.
And I even agreed with them on the surveyor office because let's say I build a big mountain in my backyard. They say, well, that could mess up drainage for the neighborhood. Well, yeah, if my neighbor builds a big ski mountain and my yard is now flooded and eroded every time there's a storm, I get that. I get a little bit of regulation. Sure, please continue.
However, and it tends to be an accepted premise now that and you have numerous options. If you desire to live in a somewhat more restrictive society, a more populous society, you have numerous suburbs across central Indiana by which you can do that with now very tight, many people would say overly tight, overly ridiculous zoning regulations. If someone such as yourself chooses to live in an unincorporated area or the county as it is known, part of what you're kind of saying is, I want a lifestyle that is more simplistic. I want a lifestyle with less regulation. I'm willing to give up certain amenities or access to shopping or drive longer to get places. And in exchange for that, I would like my life to be simpler, and yet it appears you're getting the worst of all things.
Right, and this is what befuddled me, because I said, wait a minute, no, I'm outside of the city limits of Greenfield. Why do I need to call like 14 different offices and get an engineer stamping some kind of special seal? It's literally a simple pole barn that is going to be the new television studio, radio studio for a big announcement that I would get in a lot of trouble for breaking right here, right now on these airwaves. In fact, this may be the first time I've ever teased it, so whoops. All of that stuff said, it's a simple thing. And yet now it's become some big, it's like at least a month out now until we can get this project started.
Well, that's the balancing act. This is the thing. So I wrote a revamped sign and zoning ordinance when I was an elected official, and one of the things that we strived to do when we did that is let's make things more simplistic. Let's make it easier. Let's make it pro-business, more pro-taxpayer, more common sense. And the common sense is, hey, look, it's your property. You should kind of be able to do within reason what you want to do on your property. And I always thought it was like if it's a shed or a pole barn or a whatever, hey, that's your little slice of heaven. You're not impacting the safety or the well-being of others. And I just think there's just overly cumbersome, overly bearing regulations that are ridiculous. Now, for your hassles, Tony, I'm sure you've thought this through. You will now probably receive a sizable property tax increase because you're adding structures.
Oh, I'm already looking forward to that. Can't wait for the Hancock County assessor to come over for tea.
They love structures in the government, local governments, because structures are tax dollars, my friend. So for your hassle, see, this is the crazy thing, right? You're going through all this hassle to do something to make money, which you will theoretically be taxed on the income you'll make for that.
Correct.
Then you will be taxed again for the property that you're going to build. They will be taxed on that.
You're skipping a step. I've already been taxed on the equipment that I purchased in order to make the money with. So you just the stuff that's going to go in the studio. Yeah.
And for all of these things of which you will be paying more to the Treasury, they're making it as difficult as humanly possible on you to be able to make the money and put up the property and buy the equipment of all the things you're paying taxes on. Welcome to government.
Now, on the bright side, and I will be very fair, I genuinely don't think that it's the individual staffers. A lot of them were really helpful today. There was a really nice lady I spoke to from the surveyor office. I cannot reveal whether she listens to WIBC, but she does. And she absolutely was wonderful. She said, no, we don't need these things. Here's what you need to do. And then at that moment, she said, hey, I'm right in front of my computer. Let me look up your address and see if you're in a special floodplain zone or a Save the Aquatic Tahitian Mosquito Zone or whatever. And she answered a lot of my questions and theoretically sped up the process, which is my last gripe here. When I was in education, I made things ridiculously easy for parents who never interacted with the convoluted means that we did things with. If I'm running a local government thing, I want everything regarding any kind of residential zoning. I don't care if it's a permit. I don't care if it's basic laws. I don't care. I want it to be written in language that is extremely basic for everyone in my community to understand, so that way, whenever they have to interact with my governmental office, they're happy because it's so easy for them to use and understand. Do people not get this?
Okay, so two things. One, you hit on a great point, which is, and we are seeing this with the property taxes right now, where the state legislature passes these ridiculous laws that say your taxes are based on assessment, and then they, by edict or by order, create these assessor positions and tell them how to do their job. Then everybody gets angry at the assessor, and the state lawmaker who created the assessor and the job the assessor has to do goes, oh, that's a local issue. That's not a me thing. It is not the people who work at these county governments' fault. They are following orders. In this case, these people at Hancock County are following orders of your county commissioners, your county council, et cetera. They're just doing the job that the elected people are telling them to do. You hit on a great point, though, with this other thing, Tony, which is everything is so complicated, and that's because it's written by attorneys. And if attorneys didn't exist, we might actually understand things that are going on. But if things were simple, then you wouldn't need attorneys.
And I can't believe I'm saying this on the open air. Senator Shelley Yoder, who I don't like, I think she's not a good person. And if I say that in any more plain language here. She's a Democrat senator from the southern part of the state. I will say this, though, as she does have education experience, her bills are easy to read. Credit where credit's due. She writes bills in a way that I like them. There's no convoluted language. There's no, here henceforth shall be known as subject A, matter C. Ugh, it kills me. Do you know how many classes I had to learn to take to read Abdul's articles? I mean, my goodness.
Well, and here's the thing. Look, a sign and zoning ordinance, whether it's a county, whether it's a municipality, it's a big thing because you got to consider everybody around you. And again, the goal of the thing should be to allow you to do what you want to do on your property as long as it doesn't harm someone else. Again, building a major, as you said, mound of some sort or a shooting range or a nuclear power plant, Yeah, those are things we shouldn't allow, and that should probably be a bit of a hassle to get accomplished. However, when it comes to relatively small structures, be they sheds or barns or in your case, a pole barn where you're designing to do commerce with and you're not going to be getting large trucks or a large amount of commerce or vehicles on the property, it should be a no-brainer, and we so often make it way too difficult.
I think so. Rob, thank you so much. Rob Kendall from Kendall and Casey. Thank you for allowing me to bring you on to vent to you about my frustrations with local government. After hearing Hammer gripe about the BMV, I feel thoroughly cleansed and refreshed. And that's what that was, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. That was just me griping about my frustrations to Rob. This likely would have been a phone call if we didn't do this on air.
Well, that's all I do all day is I just hear people's grievances with the government, and eventually people will understand that I'm right when I keep bitching about all of this.
That's the truth. All right, thanks again, man. We'll be back in just a minute or two. I need to tell you about the greatest, amazing new chart-topping LGBTQ book for Pride Month. The results may shock you. This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Kendall and Casey.
Okay, so you ever go into Cracker Barrel and think,
who are the old-timey photos? That's a great question. They're just a stock of some Cracker Barrel warehouse where it's like, we have 93 photos of Maud from Santa Fe, New Mexico, sitting on a porch.
Right, store 78 needs something in the left wing. Ship it out.
Kendall and Casey, weekdays 9 till noon on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Man, I love summertime. I'm all about the outdoor music. I'm all about the road trips and vacations. And my buddies at AAA Hoosier Motor Club can help you save on both. Because AAA is now the official travel partner of Ruoff Music Center. AAA members will get to enjoy some big-time benefits like early entry into any concert and access to the AAA Hoosier Motor Club Premier Lounge.
Concerts at Ruoff are always a good time. Same with going on vacation. And AAA members save with that too, thanks to access and discounts on hotels, rental cars, and more, along with complimentary travel planning. Plus, if you run into trouble on the road, AAA's got you covered. Flat tire, dead battery, run out of gas, lock your keys in the car. AAA is there for you 24/7, 365, no matter where your travel takes you. So this summer, do yourself a favor and join AAA today. Visit AAA.com, call 844-GO, AAA GO, or stop by your local AAA office.
Thanks for calling Discover. This is Diego.
Hi, Diego. It's Jennifer Coolidge. You know, I just want to say your cashback match makes me feel so special. It really inspired me.
That's great. Doubling the cashback you've earned at the end of your first year is what we do.
Well, I'm doubling everything now. Double dating, double dipping, double feature, double header, double whammy. You know, basically double or nothing.
You earn, we match. Discover Cashback Match. See terms at discover.com/creditcard.
Tony Katz here for Premier Arms in Brownsburg, Central Indiana's premier arms dealer. They have over 1,200 firearms in stock, the largest selection of used firearms in the area, from pre-Civil War to modern guns. Premier Arms has always put their customers ahead of their profits. They always have ammunition available when a customer buys a firearm. Everyone can find what they're looking for at Premier Arms in Brownsburg, 3754 South Green Street. Find them online at premierarms.com. Premierarms.com. Tell them Tony Katz sent you.
Save big on hemp products with Pike Smokes Megastore. Right now, buy one, get one half off on Wednesdays and Sundays. Pike Smokes Megastore works with local brands and everything they carry is lab tested. They offer a huge selection of Puffco products, custom glass attachments, and more. Pike's has discounts every day, like 15% off for military and first responders and 10% for seniors. Visit Pike Smokes Megastore off Benford and 62nd in Indianapolis. That's Pike Smokes Megastore, Benford and 62nd.
This time next week, I'll be sick in bed with West Nile virus, thanks to a mosquito bite right in front of my house.
In 8 minutes, my daughter will be in an ambulance, having an asthma attack, triggered by cockroaches.
I'm going to be bitten by a tick today, and I won't even know it until Lyme disease turns my life upside down.
Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org. A public service message from the National Pest Management Association and the CDC.
90% of suicide attempts involving a gun are fatal. Be a responsible gun owner. Store all your guns securely. Help stop suicide. Brought to you by End Family Fire and the Ad Council.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone. Done. By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast. I'm Tony Kinnett, and I received a question a couple of weeks ago that I've given a fair amount of thought to, believe it or not, which was if I had any good books to recommend. And there's so many ways that you can go with that. A lot of people will give you their favorite books or books that they think are edifying for certain people. I usually like to answer that with something that I've read recently. That's usually something that goes over well because I can articulate why I liked this book recently. And my colleague, Mary Margaret, the senior reporter over at the Daily Signal, she released a new book that she's worked really hard on, I know, because I was talking with her a lot while she was writing it. A new book called D-Trans, True Stories of Escaping the Gender Ideology Cult. And it is an excellent move to talk with individuals who are considering some kind of medical procedure or hopping on some kind of a trend, having some kind of a conversation about individuals who have left that trend or who have been harmed by that surgery. Because you need to make an informed decision. Well, in the transgender movement right now, there is really no conversation about all of the things that can and will go wrong, the extreme medical dangers that are involved, and indeed, the high rate of those who have detransitioned, many of whom regret it. And it's a very worthwhile read for that alone. There's another reason, though, that it is a very worthwhile read, and that is, according to Olivia Perro, the book D-Trans by Mary Margaret in the holiest month of Pride is Amazon's best-selling author for LGBTQ books. So Mary Margaret and her little book that could, this D-Trans book, actually is currently topping the LGBTQ list over on Amazon.com. And if you don't think that's funny, that is funny. That's awesome. That is just super duper wonderful. It's like watching a body positivity book reading list being topped by a guy telling people to exercise and get lots of sleep and eat a healthy diet. There is nothing better for individuals who are considering their lives or getting into the LGBTQ movement more. There's nothing more they need to read than books that are from people who used to be part of the movement that were seriously and severely harmed by it. You should go and pick up that book. That is your homework, that these are the kinds of things that you need to keep up on. One of the main reasons that you need to keep up on these kinds of books, though, is because of all of the times that you might be having a conversation with a family member, a friend, or perhaps a coworker who brings up that people who have these kind of transitions are happier and it's better for their mental health. And they talk about the Trevor Project or something, who just makes things up and, oh, well, super duper, everyone just loves being involved in the LGBTQ movement. It's all about love. Well, it would be helpful if instead of just ambiguously citing the nebula and saying, well, I think that actually it's bad, it might be useful if you had a couple of stories, some direct anecdotes that you could cite. That's how my career in this entire game got started, is that instead of just waltzing out into the public square and saying, Indianapolis Public Schools is teaching critical race theory, I brought a couple of books out, cited my sources, and then released a bunch of documents and video. Because when you cite your sources, kind of more difficult to argue with the stance. And that's the kind of stuff that's going to tear down a movement that is grossly targeting children and that is putting children in a situation like Chloe Cole. Again, you're going to have to read D-Trans to find a little bit more about Cole's story. But like Chloe Cole, whose breasts were cut off when she was 15, before she was even a legal adult able to make certain decisions. She regrets it deeply. And of course, there's all of the recent research from around the world that talks about beginning puberty too quickly, the rising rate of cancer for those who are taking these hormonal treatments, as well as a number of other serious maladies and medical conditions that are arising as a result of this stuff. So a huge round of applause for Mary Margaret Olohan. It takes a lot to be an award-winning LGBTQ journalist, as, according to FeedSpot, the number 7 lesbian journalist on planet Earth. I'm happy to share this honor with you. Welcome to the club. We get a lot of great perks, and best of all, we get streets that are painted weird colors for some reason. So, I mean, endless benefits, and our therapists make lots and lots and lots and lots of money. In the next couple of days, we're going to dig into something a little bit unusual here on the show. We've got Senator Ron Johnson hopping on with us tomorrow after PolitiFact and the Milwaukee Sentinel-Journal made a big fuss over his abortion claims. It seems that all of a sudden those claims aren't so fact-checkable anymore. So we're going to be talking with him. Gabriella Hoffman will be joining us as well, along with Jerry Lopez for some awful tweets. Make sure to submit any last-minute submissions over with us. There's a lot of great content that's been coming out in the last couple of weeks. And I'm definitely stalling for time, Allison, so that I don't have to address all of the backlash I got from my macaroni and cheese rant yesterday.
I did warn you.
You did warn me, and I did get messages. There are now angry messages flooding my inbox on Facebook. Do you know how my Facebook is not like a public profile all the way out there? You kind of have to go looking for it. I have received at least 3 or 4. One, I'm not sure if it's talking about the macaroni and cheese thing. It's just an angry person. 2 of these about the macaroni and cheese complaints demand that I give my stovetop macaroni and cheese recipe, and I quote, "if it's so good," end quote. So we might... You've seen me cook a steak for the last segment before, so I tell you what, Allison, maybe we'll just have to cook some stovetop mac and cheese and then watch it be horrible, and then no one will ever trust my opinions on anything again. That's why they're unnecessary hot takes. You know right off the bat, right out the gate, that it may not be a take for you. And that's what makes it so special. So those of you that are baking mac and cheese for your families tonight, I hope it's bland, and I hope you repent and return to the Lord, because baked mac and cheese is subpar, and you should feel bad for eating it.
Just keep digging that hole, Tony.
Yeah, that's right. If I'm going to dig a hole, it's going to be the deepest hole. People are going to come around for miles to see it. All right, that'll about do it for today. We will see you tomorrow for a very packed episode. This has been the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC.